One of the toughest questions in a job interview is when they ask you, do you have any questions for me? And this question usually hits job seekers like a ton of bricks. And most people say, no. Or they hem and they haw and they're like, well, do you have any good medical benefits? Or will you pay if I go back to college? You know, that kind of stuff. And that's the worst thing you want to say. Hey, it's Georgevich here with Job Interview Tools, and today I'm going to walk you through a simple strategy that will show you how to ask good questions when you're on a job interview. So you'll be able to impress your interviewer with some really smart and well thought out questions. So let's get started. Now, the worst thing you can do in an interview is tell them that you don't have any questions. I mean, think about it. I mean, anyone who's seriously considering making a job commitment will have many questions. And if they don't, well, they're probably not serious about the job. So to create your list of good questions to ask, the first thing you want to do is read the job description in extreme detail so you understand everything that they are looking for in the ideal candidate. And the more you know about the job, the easier it's going to be to uncover good questions to ask them. And what you want to do is pay close attention to specific requirements in the job description, potential challenges facing the position, and key attributes that they are looking for, like leadership or critical thinking or attention to detail. I mean, it probably won't be any of those, but I mean, you get the idea. Then in step 2, think about what is most important to you in this job and write down a few reasons you genuinely want this job and why those reasons are important to you. I mean, for example, this position will help me grow in the field of finance. This job will allow me to work with better people. This job will allow me to travel, or, this job will get me out of my current job. And next, write down 5 reasons that would prevent you from accepting this job and why. I mean, for example, low pay, travel, or maybe half the job is doing stuff that you really don't want to be doing. And then write down 5 things about the position that you don't understand or you require more clarity. For example, what kind of work you'd be doing, where the job is located, or, what are the hours, or, what are you going to be responsible for? And then in the final step, create a list of questions that will help you decide if you not only want this job, but will accept it if it's offered to you. For example, you might want to know more about their company culture. So you'd ask, can you describe your company culture and how it plays a role in the success of your company? Now, you might be uncertain as to what you'd be responsible for in this role. So you would ask your interviewer, can you describe the first year accountabilities and the metrics you would use to evaluate my performance? Now, another concern that you might have relates to salary because maybe they didn't disclose it, so you might ask, has a salary range been determined for this position? Now, unless you're willing to work for free, don't be afraid to ask about salary, but this approach is much better than asking, how much does the job pay? Now, if discussing salary makes you really uncomfortable, then wait for them to ask you about your salary requirements. Now, moving on here. Now, let's say you're unsure who you'll be working with. So you might ask, who will I be reporting to? Or who will I be working with? Just as simple as that. Now, if the job requires travel, you might say, what are the traveling requirements? And how much travel can I expect? And one of my personal favorite questions I love to ask at the end of an interview is, if we were to come to an agreement and I were to accept this position, could you share with me how you see me fitting in around here and what would the next 6 months look like? Now, I love asking that question because it forces my interviewer to visualize me in the role, and I can see their reaction. Now, if they hesitate, then I know that they're not sold on hiring me, so I have more work to do to sell myself. But that's another story. And that's really about it. After creating your list of questions, rank them in chronological order and aim to get the most important ones answered first because you might not have time to get all of your questions answered. Another thing you want to do is write your questions on your notepad with additional notes of why those are important and then take that list to you in the interview. Now, you should have a handful of questions already planned out before your interview. Don't wait till the last minute. And I can't stress this enough. The best questions to ask are the ones that will help you qualify this company as a place that you want to work. I mean, you may not realize this, but you're interviewing them too. So you want to ask lots of good questions. And avoid waiting until the end. Ask your questions throughout the course of the interview so they sound natural and inquisitive. Now, it might kind of go like this. They ask you a question and you answer it, and then you follow up with one of your questions that's related to that topic. And that's really about all there is to it. Look at a job interview as a conversation. I mean, if you were sitting down to have a discussion with someone and they just asked you questions for 60 minutes straight, I mean, that wouldn't be much of a conversation, would it? It would be more like an interrogation. So ask meaningful questions that will help you qualify them as an employer. I mean, your questions should not only make sense, but challenge them. And as the interview unfolds, write down additional questions that come to your mind. And ask questions about their goals for the position to demonstrate your sincere interest. Ask questions about some of the things you discovered about their company through your research. Ask questions about their competition and potential challenges they face. Ask about the next steps in the interview process. And I mean, you can do this. And once you go through this process a few times, you'll just know exactly what kind of questions that you want to ask every employer. Now, if you'd like to go a little bit farther with me than I did in this video, you can download this book here from jobinterviewtools.com/top10. This is free. It's got the top 10 most common interview questions in it. It also has more sample questions in it that you might consider asking your employer. And I say that you might consider because you only want to ask questions that are important to you. Just because I have those questions in this book does not make them good questions for you to ask in your interview, because your needs are going to be different than, what these questions are. You might have different needs than what other people have. You might have different concerns. You might have different goals. So the best questions to ask are the ones that are going to help you decide if this job is right for you. Not because you found some questions in a book. Just because you found them in a book doesn't mean they're good to ask for your situation. So this book will get you started on those. Like I said, there's probably maybe 10 questions to ask you might consider asking. If you want to go even a little bit farther, grab the Complete Interview Answer Guide from jobinterviewtools.com. This one probably has about 40 different questions in it that you might consider asking. And again, just because they're in this book doesn't make them good questions to ask. But this book also has 140 questions that you might get asked, and it shows you how to answer those, along with, tell me about yourself, why do you want to work here? It's got 40 different behavioral questions in it. The cool thing about this book is it's an ebook. You can download it right now. It's like $50, and it's also available in audio and video. So if you want to learn more, you can listen to me on your iPhone, or you can watch more videos. So it's got all that kind of stuff in there. And if you're old school like me, you want physical hard copy in your hands, you can also buy this too. So that, my friend, that's all I have for you. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. It helps me understand what kind of content that's important to you and that you get the most value from. And if you found this video helpful and you like my channel, please subscribe. That way you'll get notifications every time I release a new video. And that's all I got for you today. So we'll see you in the next video. Good luck on your interview. Bye now.